Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Hare Krishna Society worldwide. And I wanted to mention that with this group, we've had a change of name online. You can still click on the previous buttons and you get to the Hare Krishna Society globally. And we are a group of devotees that are dedicated to Srila Prabhupada and his original books that he wrote during his manifested presence here in this world. And it's very important to note why. Because there is a special transcendental potency in these books. Special. It's based on transcendental sound. And this transcendental sound is infused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the conduit of the pure devotee. This is a principle of disciplic succession. For example, here in Ontario, Canada, Balaram, we have a landmark place, you might have heard of it. Yeah, of course you have, because you've been to Toronto. It's Niagara Falls. Now, Niagara Falls provides all the electrical power for millions of people here in this area. Millions. And it's a conduit is the means by which the power is transferred. The grid is the means by which the power is transferred from Niagara Falls to all of the houses here in what's called the Golden Horseshoe. So without a proper conduit, it is not possible to transmit the power from the source. Not possible. In this particular situation that we're in now, the opportunity to get information from the spiritual realm, from Krishna himself, and the disciplic succession has been manifested in the form of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. And that is the distinction between us and them, other so-called gurus and Vapu incarnations of God. Krishna appears in transcendental sound in the form of his holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He appears in transcendental sound in his holy name, and through the manifested presence of the pure devotee, the information from the spiritual sky is transmitted to us by the mercy of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami and no one else. Period. It's that simple. If you think that there are all kinds of pure devotees running around this world, Uttama Adhikaris, that may be a far stretch of your imagination. It is, first of all, we already know, all of us that have been Prabhupada disciples, either a short period of time or a long period of time, how difficult it is to just become a good devotee. Very difficult. It's very rare that someone is actually surrendered and not confused by their own state of mental concoction. That's going on everywhere with everyone. I was talking to my godbrother Yaśodā about this, how difficult this process of making, even getting people interested in reading the books or chanting their rounds it is. They've always got some excuse, I'm busy. What are they busy with? You know, They're busy thinking. That's what they're busy with. They're thinking on the mental platform. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. Making up all kinds of ideas in their mind, when the basis of spiritual life is to simply hear from the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. And his devotees, his disciples, like all of us, it's our job not to concoct. I just saw a beautiful post. If you go to the PDA, Prabhupada Disciples Association Facebook page, you could also get a lot of information there. I have a quote from Gargamuni Prabhu in Vrindavan. Very interesting quote about concoction. And Prabhupada telling us, don't concoct the philosophy, don't concoct the methodology. Just follow in the footsteps of the pure devotee. I've been reading, I just finished reading, Balaram, the Sri Upanishad. I started it last week or 2 weeks ago as a side project for myself. And I must say, I do highly recommend it to everyone, not only for themselves, but for others to read, because a lot of the introductory books that people are given may not be as illuminating in a sense as the Sri Upanishad purports. They're extraordinarily brilliant, phenomenal, and a summary of our philosophy in a very palatable way. For example, recently I distributed a couple of Bhagavad Gita as it is books to some people, but they have trouble reading them. Maybe it's because the book is so big. Let me see what I've got here. Here's a brand new one. I've got 40 in stock here at the Hamilton Ashram. But you give the people the book, they're like, holy mackerel. I haven't read this type of book in a long time. It's big. But, and I'm not saying don't do it, but a lot of people, I was yelling at a person yesterday, I gave him the book. I've been asking him for a month and a half, did you just read one page? Well, don't get so pushy. Pushy? I asked you if we had one page. And still he couldn't do it. It was very difficult for him. So the Sri Upanishad is a very wonderful book to read. And reading it, it opened my eyes to the transcendental understanding of the potency of Srila Prabhupada in his words. You can read it over and over again, and believe me, you get deeper and deeper meaning and understanding of our philosophy by simply focusing on the words and trying to connect yourself with the conduit of Srila Prabhupada, who is speaking on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for everyone's liberation. This is really what this is about. Why don't people go to church anymore? What's the reason? I'll tell you what the reason is. You don't have to ask me, because there's no information of spiritual life, valid information of spiritual life for people that go to church, and the young people are not interested. Look at this situation in the ISKCON movement. They can't make a devotee. Very few people are becoming devotees from the Western world in the Western temples. Sure, the temples are filled with devotees. East Indian people, they have a natural affinity for Krishna consciousness. They do. Absolutely. And Prabhupada, when he was in Toronto, giving the lecture, I was listening to the lecture that they've got one lecture. I mentioned that the other day. They got one lecture for Prabhupada's visit to Toronto. Absolutely unbelievably negligent in their behavior and activity. not to record Prabhupada's visits to Canada. What is wrong with these people? Why did they do that? The biggest temple in North America and no information. Anyway, that goes on in life. But at the same time, Prabhupada's telling the East Indian people in the lecture, you're born in India. You have a natural inclination for Krishna. Now go ahead and present the rest of the world, because India is a land of dharma, of spirituality. This is Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada made a very interesting journey, as we're aware, from India in 1965. He had been preparing to depart for India, and we've been reading from his transcendental diaries, which are a great treasure for all of us to be able to get this opportunity, especially if you don't have the Jaladuta diary. There's the beautiful boat that Prabhupada it was a freighter that he embarked on, and this tremendous journey to bring Krishna consciousness to the modern world. And we're going to go to that diary again today as we read on. And we're at July 30th. Yes, there we go. Thank you, Vinkat Bhatta, in Bangalore, South India. Mr. J.M. Choksi today handed me over the following documents. 1, the passport. 2, P form past date 27/7/65. 3, original letter and no objection certificate from Gopal P. Agarwal. This is a gentleman that was going to receive him when he arrived in New York from Butler, Pennsylvania, who is sponsoring him to come to America. And we'll read on in this exciting story how Prabhupada, this happened all by the transcendental arrangement of the Lord when he met Agarwal's father in India, who offered to arrange for his son to sponsor him, who was living in America, to get a visa to enter the country. 4, copies of letters for Calcutta office, Scindia Steam Navigation Company. And 5, international certificate and vaccination, 3 years and 6 months. And we'll go over to the letter from Gopal Agarwal. Oh, excuse me, go down to Sunday, I missed that. Sunday, to start for Calcutta by the Calcutta Mail via Nagpur, starting from Bodhi-Barna at 1900 hours in the evening, and the ticket is DT 24/7/65, luggage booked, receipt, and paid rupees 1220. And we'll go to page 37 here. Okay, take a look here, everyone. This is go back in time. Here's Prabhupada's statutory declaration from Gopal Agarwal Prasa. Right, the letter from Gopal Agarwal mentioned in the July 30th diary entry. Prabhupada was pleasantly surprised when the Ministry of External Affairs showed him this statutory declaration form and informed him that his no objection certificate had been issued. Victory. Srila Prabhupada had met Gopal's father, here we go, only briefly 3 or 4 months previously, and not had expected anything to come to Mr. Agarwal's offer to have his son Gopal act as a sponsor. See also the Reflections chapter beginning on page 81. And there you go, you see all the information that's given on the form, and then Prabhupada's name, Tridandi Goswami A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, spiritual instructor. So The rite of passage is coming to Prabhupada to come to America. Fabulous. Okay, so we'll go to the next page. Look at that. A piece of real transcendental history, Balaram, for all of us to relish. Tuesday, the 3rd, reached at 65A Pachuria Ghat Street, Rangakumar Bangor Dharamshala at about 1 p.m. Sri Gobindal Bangur sent his man to receive me, received letter from Chaitanya Bharati, New Delhi, and also from Govinda Maharaj, dated the 31st of the 7th month, 65. And on August 5th, Tuesday, August 5th, Sri Kanai Banerjee coming today to see me at any time. So no specific meeting time. And on Friday the 6th morning to start for Mayapur and return back in the evening. So he's going to Mayapur to pay obeisances to Lord Chaitanya at his birthplace and all the wonderful pastimes that have gone on there. And here we are, page 30. Let's see what we got here. Okay, and here's the final page, Vinkapata. The Scindia Steamship Steam Navigation Company Limited, Bombay. Sumati Morarji was reluctant to give Srila Prabhupada passage to America. She thought him too old. She thought him but she doubted he would be able to accomplish much there. Understandable. Srila Prabhupada, however, was persistent. And she finally agreed to issue him one complimentary ticket with food for passage aboard the Jala Duta. And there's the contract. It's a non-transferable passage ticket from the port of Calcutta to the port of actually New York. Abhicharan, Bhaktivedanta Swami, complimentary ticket with food. One adult, it's mutually agreed that this contract ticket is issued by or on the behalf of the Scindia Steam Navigation Company Limited and is accepted by the passenger on the terms and conditions printed or endorsed on the face and back of this ticket. So the journey begins, and on Saturday morning, we'll carry on with entering into the journey as the Jaladuta sets sail for America. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We're going to have the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by Srila Prabhupada, and after that, our wonderful Chaitanya Charitamrita reading and discussion conducted by our host, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, who is an intimate disciple of Srila Prabhupada and resides in Twin Heart, California. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Yamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Founder-Ācārya. Jaya Radha Madhava Founder-Ācārya. Jai Amasvat Paramahansa Parivrajagacārya Sattvaresvara Samad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Anantapuri Vaishnavindra ki Jai. Ramacārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Giridhar ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Navadvip Dham ki Jai. Ganga Mai की जाए, जमुना माई की जाए, गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए, स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is a very, very auspicious literature which has been compiled by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, one of the principal devotees and follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As we do with every meeting that we have on this topic, we will read a few verses from Adi Lila, chapter 1, from text 18 through 22, which describes the benefit of hearing this transcendental literature of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Adi Lila 118, now 119. 18 Thakur Gaudiya ke Karya Chena Atmasat. 18 Era Charana Vandan Tire Morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 120. 18 Granterarambi Kari Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text 21. Tinera Smarane Vigna Vinashana Anayaseyai Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text number 22. Simangala Charanai Trivida Prakar Vastu Nirdesha Shirvada Namaskara. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. So as we discussed before, we will read today from the Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 4. We will begin from text 84. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Devi kahidityotamana paramasundari kimva Krishna puja kridara vasati nagari. Devi, the word Devi. Kahi, I say. Dyatomana, shining. Parama, most. Sundari, beautiful. Kimva, or. Krishna puja, of the worship of Lord Krishna. Kridara, and of sports. Vasati, the abode. Nagari, the town. Translation: Devi means resplendent and most beautiful, or else it means the lovely abode of the worship and love sports of Lord Krishna. Text number 85. Krishna Mayi Krishna Yar Bitare Bahire Yanha Yanha Netra Pade Tanha Krishna Spuri. Krishna Mayi, the word Krishna Mayi. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Yara, of whom? Bhitare, the within. Bahire, the without. Yanha, yanha, wherever. Netra, the eyes. Pade, fall. Tanha, there. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Spure, manifest. Translation: Krishnamayi means one who is within and without our Lord Krishna. She sees Lord Krishna wherever she casts her glance. Text number 86. Kimva premarasamaya Krishna Swarup Tanara Shakti Tanrasaha Aya Ekarupa. Kimva, or Premarasa, the mellows of love, Maya, made of, Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, Swarupa, the real nature, Tanra, of him, Shakti, the energy, Tanrasaha, with him, Aya, there is, Ekarupa, oneness. Translation: or she is identical with Lord Krishna, for she embodies the mellows of love. The energy of Lord Krishna is identical with him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna Maya has two different imports. First, a person who always thinks of Krishna, both within and without, and who always remembers only Krishna, wherever he goes or whatever he sees, is called Krishna Mayi. Also, since Krishna's personality is full of love, his loving potency, Rādhārāṇī, being non-different from him, is called Krishna Mayi. Text number 87. Krishna Vancha Purti Rupa Kararadane Ataeva Radhika Nama Purane Vakane. Krishna Vancha, of the desire of Lord Krishna. Purti Rupa, of the nature of fulfillment. Kare, does. Aradhane, worship. Ataeva, therefore. Radhika, Śrīmatī, Radhika. Nama, named. Purane, in the Puranas. Vakane, in the description. Translation: her worship, Aradhana, consists of fulfilling the desires of Lord Krishna. Therefore, the Puranas call her Radhika. Purport: the name Radha is derived from the root word Aradhana, which means worship. The personality who excel all in worshiping Krishna may therefore be called Radhika, the greatest servitor. Text 88. Anayaradito nunam Bhagavan Naririshvaraha Yanno Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anayadraha. Anaya, by this one. Araditaha, worship. Nunam, certainly. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Harihi, Lord Krishna. Ishvaraha, the Supreme Lord. Yat, from which. Na, us. Vihaya, leaving aside. Govindaha, Govinda. Pritaha, pleased. Yam, whom. Anayat, lead. Raha, to a lonely place. Translation: truly the personality of Godhead has been worshipped by her. Therefore, Lord Govinda, being pleased, has brought her to a lonely spot, leaving us all behind. Purport: this text is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30-28. Text 89. Ataeva sarva pujya paramadevata sarva palika sarva jagatera mata. Ataeva, therefore, sarva pujya, worshipable by all, parama, supreme, Devata, goddess, Sarvapalika, the protectress of all, Sarva Jagatera, of all the universes, Mata, the mother. Translation. Therefore, Radha is Paramadevata, the supreme goddess, and she is worshipable for everyone. She is the protectress of all, and she is the mother of the entire universe. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance, with the torchlight of knowledge. From the Brihad Gotamiya Tantra. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmatī Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshatarine. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva and delivering the Western countries, which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my Guru Maharaja, who is a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is always calm and joyful, and who bears the name Bhaktivedanta. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha. Worship of the Supreme Lord is naturally very sweet, just like milk is originally sweet. Just as milk becomes sweeter by adding a little sugar, in the same way, worship of the Supreme Lord becomes sweeter by first worshiping the bona fide Guru. Amsho adadana strinam dante ridam yachi punaha punaha Śrīmad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani. Clasping a straw between my teeth, I repeatedly beg to attain the dust of the lotus feet of Śrīmad Rupa Goswami, birth after birth. Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Sat Karomi Svam. I am a tiny part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and I'm always and in every way His eternal servant. As I'm always hoping for His mercy and kindness, I offer myself to His most dear servitor, my spiritual master. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. In October of 1972, we met Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan for the Nectar of Devotion lecture series. Srila Prabhupada was residing in his room at the Radha Damodar temple, and Prabhupada wanted to hear the result of our preaching work in Bangalore, South India. We had gone to Bangalore in the summer of 1972 to basically collect funds for the construction of the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. So as part of our endeavors, we also met with various devotees, various Vaishnavas, many of whom from different sampradayas. We had met with certain individuals from the Madhva Sampradaya in Udupi at Janmashtami, and we had some discussions with the Paryaya Swami from the Admar Math. The gentleman was very gracious, very courteous, and the discussion very soon turned with him. He raised an objection about the Gaudiya Sampradaya, the disciplic succession from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, stating that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana, the name of Rādhārāṇī is not mentioned there. So Guru Kripa Swami, who was never at loss for words for starting a good debate or a good fight, pointed out to him that it is mentioned, and it was mentioned indirectly. So obviously they did not accept our arguments. So when we saw Srila Prabhupada, we related this incident to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's immediate reply was to quote that verse, text number 88, Anayaradito nunam bhagavan haririshvaraha yanno vihaya govindaha prito yam anayadrahaha. That this gopi which left the rasa krida, the rasa lila, was Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. And Prabhupada explains in text number 87, the name Radha is derived from the root word aradhana, which means worship. The personality who excels all in worshiping Krishna may therefore be called Radhika, the greatest servitor. But then Prabhupada made an interesting comment. He says, because they are our gurus in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, it is best to be respectful to them, and then to simply say, well, our acharyas in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, specifically the 6 Goswamis and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladevi Bhusana, they have interpreted in this way that the reference in the Srimad Bhagavatam is there. But then Prabhupada pointed out the name Radha is mentioned in many other shastras, Padma Purana, Skanda Purana, Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Sanat Kumar Samhita, so many different literatures. Prabhupada did not make much of a big issue of it, but it's interesting to note that when we carefully study this issue, as Krishnadas Kaviraj has done in this chapter of quoting many different verses from different literatures to explain very nicely the exalted position of Radharani. For example, in text number 83, he quotes, Devi Krishnamaya Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Maya Sarva Kantihi Sammohini Para, from the Brihad Gautamya Tantra. The transcendental goddess Śrīmatī Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. So it's quite significant when we carefully read and study Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. There are so many evidences provided by Krishna Das Kamiraj dealing with this subject. For example, when we look at text number 72, which is a citation from the Brahma Samhita, it explains, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who reside in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure and who embodies the ecstatic potency, Alladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form and who are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. So this is very significant that when we study the extensive literatures of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, as provided and explained by our Purva-Acharyas, our previous predecessor Acharyas, there is plenty of evidence to understand the subject matter very carefully. Very nice. It is not very complicated. It is not very difficult. There's no big mystery here or some so-called esoteric secret teaching. Everything has been given by Srila Prabhupada. It has been nicely presented that even persons who may not know Sanskrit or Bengali or extensive training in study of Shastras can read Srila Prabhupada's books, can get themselves acquainted with Srila Prabhupada's presentation, and clearly understand Srila Prabhupada's position. Everything is revealed very nicely. Now, we know that there's some class of devotees who want to take a shortcut. They're looking for a magic solution, a silver bullet, without following the proper process of sadhana bhakti, gradually becoming purified, gradually progressing steadily towards the path of bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. They want to quickly jump to that platform of this rasika position. But this was not recommended by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada has warned many times when their devotees asked him about Siddha Swarupa, about the highest level of prema bhakti, that people have to be very careful. There is one conversation where Prabhupada was complaining that so many sahajias will come out of so many devotees. And he was relating a conversation which he had with an Indian lawyer who was relating to him how his wife's garment had been snatched by Lord Jagannath. And Srila Prabhupada laughed when he related that story. He says, just see, so many sahajias will come out. On one hand, it is not difficult to understand if one follows the proper process and hearing from bona fide sources. If one tries to shortcut the process, short-circuit the process, then there's the risk of this kind of sahajiya nonsense. When I went to Bangalore last time at the temple, I was approached by an Indian lady who wanted to speak with me. And I respectfully heard her point. And she was trying to tell me how Krishna had come to her to reveal his special form. I was trying to be very respectful, very patient. But it became very obvious to me that this person did not quite grasp or understand the process. No, it's quite possible Krishna can come and reveal himself to anyone at any time for any reason. But Krishna also describes in Bhagavad Gita, and I know my good friend Vishwakarma Prabhu has quoted that several times, Yeyatamam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyaham. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Depending on the intensity of surrender, the intensity of service, the intensity of chanting, the purity of the chanting, the complete dedication to the Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. There are many different points which are mentioned in Shastra, how one comes to these levels of realization. We know at the end of the Brahma Samhita, there is mentioned a very similar verse by Lord Brahma. He mentions at the end of Brahma Samhita, after all the glorification of Krishna with Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami, he says, Yadrishi Yadrishi Shraddha Siddhir Bhavati Tadrishi. According to a level of faith and spiritual practice, one will achieve that level of perfection. We saw many times in the history of Prabhupada's movement, many devotees would ask, how is it that a devotee, many times very senior devotee, who had by their good service attitude had received very nice mercy from Srila Prabhupada, very good position in his society, who had rendered very valuable service to his mission, but some way or other experienced problems. We saw this especially after the departure of Srila Prabhupada in 1977, and the question comes up many times, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Now, one of the reasons why these questions even come up is many times the devotees do not quite understand the proper process of understanding spiritual advancement. Spiritual advancement is not like some kind of a magic wand. It is not like that. The spiritual advancement depends on the mercy of the pure devotee, the bona fide authorized spiritual master. And somebody may say, well, you saw Prabhupada, Yasoda, Vishwakarma, Balaram, and others. You people met Prabhupada. You went with him on morning walks. You had the chance to speak to him in his room. You went at some airport receptions. You got some personal letters from Prabhupada. But some people may say, well, I didn't get that chance. But no one is being prevented from the mercy of Krishna, from the mercy of the pure devotee. Just like Krishna came 5,000 years ago. One cannot argue, well, since we didn't meet Krishna directly, how can we associate with him now? Krishna has left his Bhagavad Gita. In 1968 in Montreal, Prabhupada gave a lecture in which he explained Krishna's words are non-different than Krishna. Similarly, the words of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, are non-different than him. Recently, I was speaking to a devotee relating the history of how one devotee who had never physically met Srila Prabhupada was initiated by His Divine Grace, rendered very valuable service to his mission. He was a very good devotee, very Brahmanical, very sober, very humble, very hardworking, distributing books, deity worship, so many wonderful activities, but he never physically met Prabhupada. And there's a lot of devotees who only saw Prabhupada just at the fire sacrifice when they were initiated. They didn't get the chance to wash his dhoti, to cook his dal and chapatis, to ask him questions for hours and hours personally in his room. No. How did they connect with him? Through service, through chanting, through following his instruction. Recently, I had a conversation with a lady. Well, how do you practice all this? I said, well, Prabhupada said it's very simple. Recently, one devotee sent me a nice little clip on YouTube where Prabhupada is explaining the process very simply. He says, you sit down with your family or your friends, you can chant Hare Krishna, you can read a little Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, and you offer some prasadam to Krishna, bhoga to Krishna. Prabhupada said it's very simple. It is not complicated. It only becomes complicated when people deviate from the actual process, neglect the process. When I was in Canada working for a law firm, I had a relative one time, for a birthday, she gave me a gift. And the gift said, Coconut Joe, a legend in his own mind. And when I saw that, I had a good laugh, because I felt it was very applicable to so many people I knew who thought they had become liberated, who thought that they had become equal to the spiritual master, who thought that they become the successors to Srila Prabhupada, who thought they knew better than their own guru. They could interpret everything this way, that way. No, that is not the process. Yasya deve parabhaktir yata deve tata gurau tasyete katita hiyartaha prakashante mahatmanaha, from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Only for those who have strong faith in the words of the Acharya and equally Krishna, to those persons, the meaning, the secret of all the Vedic scriptures is revealed. Prakashante Mahatmanaha. What is that secret? We just did it in the beginning of the class. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. It's as simple as that. Very simple, not complicated, and one can get all the benefits, every benefit, simply by being respectful to Lord Krishna and his pure devotee Srila Prabhupada, and chant the name of Krishna as given by his divine grace. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Bo. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for this explanation of today's verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the point is well taken, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, that we have to practice carefully the process of devotional service under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. And this will enable us to make advancement in spiritual life. You chanted that wonderful verse at the beginning, Om Ajnanatimrandasya. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. This is the situation that we're all in. And our spiritual master forces open our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. If you're in a room that's dark, then you can't see anything. This is the relationship between form and light. When there's light, you can see form. When there is no light, you cannot see form. It's complete darkness. So, like that, when you're in the material world and under the influence of Maya or illusion, it's a darkness. You cannot see. And you know, the mind, interestingly, the mind is always working. I've noticed while sleeping that as I move into light sleep in the morning, my mind is so active with so much nonsense. And I get upset. I think, how the heck am I thinking all this nonsense? Prabhupada explains this is because of continuous entombment in the material body for many, many, many births and deaths. But eventually I get up, the light is there, and I start to see. So the practice of devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master opens our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. We can start to see things as they are, not under the illusion that we are this body, we're this country, we're this nationality, all these false designations that accompany us throughout our life. Such a big mistake. We're so confused. And by following the directions of the spiritual master, for example, Prabhupada gave us a rule to chant Hare Krishna. And this is to follow in the footsteps of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, who is the greatest servant of Krishna, and learn how to serve Krishna by following her example. Selfless, completely surrendered service. Very, very difficult for us conditioned souls. But when you chant the holy name, you're actually invoking the Lord and Śrīmatī Radharani. Please engage me in your service. Please engage me in this mission to spread Krishna consciousness. Actually, in our particular relationship with the disciplic succession, our business is to pray, to chant our rounds, and request the Lord, please, my dear Radharani, my dear Krishna, please engage me in your service. And this service is the source of liberation for the conditioned soul. Service. The more we serve, the more advanced we become. It's a simple philosophy. Everyone is engaged in some particular type of service. There was a great song by Bob Dylan, everyone's got to serve somebody. It might be the devil or it might be the Lord, but everyone's got to serve somebody. So everybody is engaged in service. Whether if you're working for a company, you have to serve the employer. You have to serve the mission. So in this way, we have to understand that real advancement in Krishna consciousness means you're praying to get some service in association with other like-minded devotees. This is the Sankirtan movement. This Hare Krishna society that we're promoting is for that purpose. We're requesting all of the members here take up some service. If you can work with us in the particular projects that we have, please do so. Get a hold of us. Be in touch with us. Take up the service. We don't expect any kind of reward except the reward of more service. That's the reward of Krishna consciousness. I can remember Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu about 9 years ago. I had been engaged in so much nonsense, serving all kinds of useless missions. I had the mission to build the biggest, an international jazz and blues festival. And it was going along okay. But I thought to myself, what am I going to do when I die? Pray to the jazz gods to take me back to Godhead? I don't think so. Jazz is such a confusing music anyway. All music is so mundane, it's pathetic. All it does is pollute the consciousness. But when you chant Hare Krishna, when you study these books, when you associate with devotees, and when you share Krishna consciousness with others, then automatically I, dwelling within the heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge. Krishna explains that in the Gita to us. Tesham evanu kam partam aham jnana jantamaha. I destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Again, we're in the darkness of material life, Prabhus. We're stuck in the cycle of birth and death, disease, and old age. And unless we take up the service of Krishna, and that will happen if we take up the chanting of Hare Krishna. This Hare Krishna mantra is the key to your spiritual success. I was speaking to a god brother the other day, and I said to him, you can chant 16 rounds. He keeps telling me I can't do it. I asked him, well, why not? Well, I just don't have time. Well, you have to make time. There is no excuse. Because if you don't chant, it's like trying to make the delicious preparation without the ghee. Everybody knows that if you're a good cook, you'll always want to use ghee in the prep, and this will bring the flavor. So in the same way, if you leave out the holy name, of course there's other ways to practice Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Archanam, Dasya, Sakya, Atma Nivedanam. There are 9 different processes for practicing devotional service. I was reading about them today. Prabhupada was saying that the different processes will also lead to perfection. But for us as devotees, Prabhupada ordered us, if we're serious, to chant minimum 16 rounds a day. Call upon Hare Krishna. Please, my dear Lord, engage me in your service. And if you're blessed by Krishna, he'll give you some very serious service. And this will take you back to the spiritual world through your service. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
This is a very important point. I remember when I went to Florida in 1993, I had an exchange with the godbrothers who brought up this exact point, that he did not have time to chant. I said, what do? You work? You have to go in your car every day? He says, yeah. I do a lot of driving. I said, you have a tape recorder? Yeah. Why don't you put a tape of Prabhupada chanting and chant along with him? And he admitted, well, I didn't think about that. I said, well, use the modern technology to your advantage. You hear the chanting, you chant with Srila Prabhupada, and you get the benefit. So this process is not complicated. It only becomes complicated when we are too absorbed in this bodily concept of life. It is described, Prabhupada would often describe, that the animals and the humans all have the same basic propensity. Ahara nidra bhayamaitunam cha pashubhihi samanat manusham, that they have the same tendency of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. What differentiates the human from the animals is that he has the intelligence to inquire, to hear the message of Godhead. That is the difference. And somebody may say, well, why so many austerities? What is the benefit of all these rules and regulations? That is not difficult. In the Manu Samhita, it is described, pravritti rishabhutanam nivrittir tu mahafalam. In Sanskrit, mahafalam means a great result. A better result is obtained by nivritti, by restriction, by renunciation of sense gratification. But that tendency for sense gratification is there with all human beings. It is there. But it doesn't produce a good result with irrestricted sense gratification. There was one lecture where Prabhupada said, the more you indulge in sense gratification, the more animalistic you become. The more restrictions you accept on your sense gratification, the more divine, the more advanced you become. And this is the problem with modern civilization. They've developed this civilization with the internet and all modern means of communication. It's 24 hours a day bombardment with sense gratification. Of course, one can use his intelligence and use that same technology, the same internet, to get connected to Krishna. Not very complicated. Every day when I get up, usually I have my phone set up, 3:15, 3:30, 3:45, 4 o'clock, 4:15. There's an alarm to make sure I get up at some point. And what I do when I get up, pay obeisance to Prabhupada, and put the tape of Prabhupada chanting japa. There's no cost. You can go on YouTube or some websites, and you play the tape of Prabhupada chanting japa. Listen to His Divine Grace. Clean up, take your bath, whatever you do, and then you can do your worship or start chanting your japa. There's no real excuse. It's simple, not complicated. Hare Krishna.
Yes, that's right. And we've got a lot of wonderful godbrothers on the call today on this Zoom meeting. Balaram in Australia, Shama Sundar in Australia, the Samosa King, Dharma Bhavana in Texas, and Aprakrita in Montreal. And nowadays, there's so much difficulty in the political realm of things. Even now, there's a threat of Armageddon coming. And people have different theories about this, how it could escalate. I was listening to the general from America, McGregor, I think he is, and he was MacArthur, General MacArthur, and he was saying when you have war, you're not sure how it will end. You can predict this or that, but when people are desperate to survive, then anything can happen. So there's a threat. And Prabhupada, I was on a walk, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, in India years ago in the 70s, and he predicted someday there could be a nuclear war, a great war. So these days, there is danger, and the best way to prepare for it is chanting the holy names. And this will purify not only yourself, but your atmosphere and everything that comes in contact with you. And Balaram in Australia, please, if you could share some of your realizations with us this evening. Thank you.
As always, thank you very much for the wonderful discourses, Prabhus. So many beautiful shlokas describing the glories of Śrīmatī Radharani. And we pray every morning, Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Brindavaneshware Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. We offer our respectful obeisances unto Śrīmatī Radharani, who has the bodily complexion of molten gold. You are the Queen of Vrindavan, the daughter of King Vrishabhanu. So Srila Prabhupada has given us this most exalted transcendental information. We cannot get that anywhere else. We are so fortunate to be in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. This is only the only way that we can actually understand the higher values. But as Prabhupada always says, we have to, because we're so contaminated, we're coming from such a contaminated material life. All of us, where is the purity in any of us coming through? I mean, I first saw and then heard Srila Prabhupada when I think I was 25. So I think Vishwakarma Prabhu, we've gone through a lot in those 20, 25 years before we met Srila Prabhupada. But if we follow the process that Prabhupada has given, even though we're still in the neophyte stage of trying to develop our Krishna consciousness, but the formula is there, just like Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu was saying. It's actually very simple. It's a simple formula, and Prabhupada gives that. We read that all the time in the Srimad Bhagavatam. there's one beautiful verse in the second chapter of the first canto. Srinvatan Shakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam. Suritsatam. That actually is the truthful devotee. And in that particular shloka is, I think it's 1 to 17. If Venkat Prabhu is there, if he could bring that up from memory, 1 to 17 in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Is that possible? Hasn't got it there.
I'll just bring it up. Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was just reading that the other day. Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge for hearing his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So this is the process, and we see there in that particular translation, it cleanses the desire for material enjoyment. This happens automatically in the heart of a truthful devotee. When we actually apply ourselves to the Krishna consciousness process that Prabhupada has given, chanting our rounds, 16 rounds minimum. Prabhupada said for a seasoned devotee, a reasonably advanced devotee, we should be able to do that in an hour and a half. Prabhupada said that. He said 6 minutes should be good. Maybe in the beginning, 2 hours. So we should apply ourselves in that way, full concentration, dedicate our morning program, sadhana. We've mentioned many times that we don't have the facility or the luxury, you might say, at the moment of being in the environment of a temple. We're all over the world, and maintaining our household sadhana as well. So we have to be very, very strict in those regards. And Prabhupada has given us the process in which to do that. And whatever we can do, always have some books on hand. I've just been down to Sydney recently, and just on a weekend visit, I had some business down there. I always take a couple of Bhagavad Gitas also with me, and that way, who knows who you're going to be sitting next to on the plane. I was traveling by myself this time and met a very interesting person, and when I was down there, I also had the facility of preaching to someone who was he was a lecturer in interfaith religion, right? So take the opportunity whenever we can to spread Krishna consciousness, and if we follow Prabhupada's process, then we'll be successful. Just like this particular verse states that the desire for material enjoyment is cleansed from the heart as we hear Krishna's messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So that is our process. We have to stick to it with great determination. So thank you very much once again. Hare Krishna.
Glories to Prabhupada. Thank you, Balaram. We have Shama Sundar. I call him the Samosa King. I think Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, he cooks and sells over 2,000 samosas a week. Shama Sundar, are you there? Can you share some of your understandings this evening with our group?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, and thank you for the beautiful class. Not much to say, Prabhu. I'm just happy listening in. Busy here in the kitchen. Just getting ready for the market this weekend.
Okay.
So, no, I really don't have much to say, Prabhuji, except to thank you so much for the beautiful association, the Nectarian class, and the topic. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Prabhu. So thank you so much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Prabhupada, and thank you very much. We have Dharma Bhavana in Texas. maybe he could share some of his realizations. Is your hearing working now, Dharma Bhavana? Is he there, Venkapata, in South India?
No, I don't see him in the meeting.
Okay, so maybe he left, and we'll ask Aprakrita, our friend in Montreal, who's a wonderful devotee who does his daily midday japa class. Maybe he could share a bit of his insights this evening on these topics. Aprakrita Prabhu.
I don't see Aprakrita Prabhu either in the meeting.
Okay, well, I guess we're falling short a bit here. Maybe Vinkat Bhatta, maybe you could share some insights for us this evening at the class.
I don't really have anything else to add, Prabhu. It was a very nice class. So,
well, thank you. And I have to say this, by the way, Prabhus, that I'm getting a lot of response from people all over the world, sending me messages constantly, and truly appreciating our efforts to preserve Prabhupada's movement in his books that are unadulterated and unchanged. I see we have Daniel there in, whereabouts are you again? Is it Vermont, Daniel?
I'm in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Oh, New Hampshire.
Yeah, right outside of Boston. I live very close to Boston, Mass, right on the border. Okay. So I'm at the beginning of my spiritual life, I feel. The more I chant, the closer I become to Krishna.
Yes.
And I'm getting the realization that, Prabhupada, he wants us to chant 16 rounds a day because it creates a habit of chanting. Okay. And once you create that habit, then, 16 rounds, you become very close to Krishna, and he really opens up to you. And so, I find the reason people don't want to chant the 16 rounds a day is because they don't want to give up their material desires. So they partially, they'll chant 3 or 4 or 5 rounds a day because they know if they keep it up, life will change. They will become very spiritualized and they will fall in love with Krishna. And they don't want it. So they don't do that because they don't want to give up their material desires, that they're so conditioned. So I think that's the reason, you sort of, when you said, chant 1 round, he can't even chant 1 round. And the reason is in his heart, he knows if he chants, the more he chants, his life will change and he will become very, very, he will fall in love with Krishna, because that's what happens. I remember when I was first introduced to Krishna at the Boston Temple, I was very, very nervous. I was in my early 20s back in the 70s when I was first introduced. And at the time we were very concerned, the Hare Krishna, it was a cult and we were going to get brainwashed and blah, blah, blah. So when I went in the temple, I was very nervous and scared. But the devotee, he said, listen, just chant for a couple of weeks and you'll see life will change. So I did that. I chanted for 2 weeks. And what happened to me was like a switch turned on and I remembered Krishna. And from that day on, I never forgot Krishna. Yeah, but now I'm at the point now where I realize that, I'm getting up in age and, I probably will not go back to Godhead in this lifetime, but to Krishna's mercy and his, in my next life, I'm praying that, maybe I will be born in a family of devotees and I will get a chance to go back to Godhead.
But
go ahead.
How do you know that you're not going to go back to Godhead in this lifetime? What if Krishna gives you special benediction and brings you back to Godhead at the end of your life in your lifetime? That can happen.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I was telling Vishwakarma that, you know, my goal is I want to move to Mayapur, and my plan is to live in Mayapur within the next couple of years. So I'm in the process of becoming a better devotee. I know I need to chant more rounds. I need to chant 16 rounds, and I also realize that, you know, I find it hard to talk to non-devotees about Krishna, but I feel the more I become Krishna consciousness, the more devoted I will be. And then one day I will wear tilaka, and I will dress in dhotis. And then I feel, you know, then people will approach me and want to learn about, you know, what I'm learning, who I am and what I preach. So.
Excellent. I wanted to, Vinkat Bhatta, if you could go to the last paragraph of Mantra 18 in the Sri Ishopanishad, the last paragraph in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to read this for the benefit of Daniel and all of us in this class to get some understanding of how we can become fixed up in Krishna consciousness. Daniel, even in this lifetime, it's just a matter of understanding. It can happen in 1 second, or it could take millions of years. But if you understand it and you accept the fact and you practice it, then the solution is there. Hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord are themselves acts of piety. The Lord wants everyone to do this because he is the well-wisher of all living entities. By hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, one becomes cleansed of all undesirable things, and then one's devotion becomes fixed upon the Lord. Are you listening, Daniel?
Yes.
At this stage, the devotee acquires the Brahminical qualifications and the effects of the lower modes of nature, passion and ignorance, completely vanish. The devotee becomes fully enlightened by the virtue of his devotional service. And thus he comes to know the path of the Lord and the way to attain him. As all doubts diminish, he becomes a pure devotee. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending this evening's program of Chaitanya Charitamrita, reading and discussions. And we'll move forward on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada and the Eastern United States for the Bhagavad Gita class as it is, and the Srimad Bhagavatam reading and discussion on Sunday morning to complete this week's sadhana program for all of us. Carry on offering your food, eating your prasadam, chanting your rounds, and preaching as Balaram Prabhu in Australia mentioned. We should always be prepared to share Krishna consciousness with everyone we meet. And in this way, you'll become blessed by the grace of the pure devotee and the transcendental Lord to make advancement rapidly in Krishna consciousness. Let's go to the kirtan Vinkata Bhatta in Bangalore, India, and we'll chant along with Hare Krishna mantra with Srila Prabhupada.
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaurāta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaurāta Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Jai Hare Krishna.